Hey folks, we are doing a national overview for early age Machaka, and that's because we're going to be playing them in a blitz, which is good. Um, also, there's a decent chance this blitz will turn into a long form game, so we'll see. Okay, early age Machaka, the good Machaka, they are pretty cool. They have a lot of things they can do. They also have some struggles, and then I kind of want to meme with them. So first of all, for the blitz, we're playing with the mod on. And the mod is called Bring a Real God. And basically, all these mimsy immobiles and rainbows that mouth-breathing tryhards pick all the time, you can't get. You have to actually get a cool god that can do stuff. So either an expander or a titan, which I think is a really cool thing. So anyway, we're going to be doing that. And also just to shake up the meta, the stupid elf bless immobiles everywhere. Ugh, 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 ugh. So tired of that. Okay. Anyway, those guys gone. You have to pick a real god. And Machaka is one of the few nations that has access to the Colossal Fetish, which is a huge badass. He's mindless, he's inanimate, but he can move. So in some ways, it's like a moving monolith that has full slots. Very nice. He's a little pricey, but whatever, he's awesome. First, we're going to talk about the nation. So we'll probably get to the Pretender design. I don't know if we'll do it in a separate episode or not, but okay, what is the thing with Machaka? Well, there's a few things. They have decent troops. Not great, but decent. Like, especially for the era. For early age, Rhino Clan Warrior are no joke. They are formation fighters, so you can pack these guys in. They have length 4 weapons that hit pretty darn hard. 17 is pretty high damage for piercing. And, they have a shield, so they're going to be okay against ranged stuff. They're just a solid troop, and they have, 11 protection. It's not phenomenal, but it's not bad. Like, they're reasonably solid. The Lion Clan, notably much less protection. A lot of their stuff isn't super high protection. They also have decent archery. Like, they have these pygmies who have short bows, and the short bows don't do much, but they're cheap. And once you get flaming arrows, which is kind of trivial for this nation to do because of Lion Queens, like a Lion Queen with a jar can do flaming arrows turn 1 every combat. You also have the Bird Clan archers who shoot a little bit harder, are better for archery jobs before flaming arrows, but after flaming arrows can be really good. You also have the Spider Clan archer, and these guys have poison bows. These guys are pretty devastating to units without poison resistance. A little more expensive. So it depends. If they're not resistant to fire, you're probably better off just massing pygmies. But these guys also get wrecked by stuff like Earthquake. So if that sort of stuff might come out, then maybe you step it up and get somebody with a little bit more HP. Anyway, you have archery things you can do. And, these guys aren't stealthy. I don't think these guys are stealthy either. Yeah. I actually am not sure what is stealthy on this nation that in terms of troops. You have mages that are stealthy. I can't think if there's any troops that are. I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. So, anyway, so we've got those things. We've got archery. We've got reasonably solid generic troops. The Hyena Clan warriors are also kind of cool just because they have a javelin and they're easy to mass. Like, they're not bad. And these guys are kind of cool. They have 0 protection, so they get shredded by archers, but they have a web. So you have actually, one of the things Machaka excels at is anti-elite. So if you're getting rushed by like some sacreds and you have spider riders and lion warriors, which are your sacred, you'll crush them a lot of times if they're vulnerable to web. If they're large, which I think means size 3 to 4, it might negate, and then size 5 always negates. Anyway, there's a lot of conditions where it can negate. But anyway, the web can be oppressively good versus certain types of units. So that's cool. Lion Warriors have a Spirit Club, which is really cool. It's a high damage 2-handed weapon, which means they benefit a lot from strength buffs. It's also length 2, which is kind of cool, because if you get these guys up to size 4, this becomes length 3, which means you're not going to get repelled by other length 3 weapons. There's not a ton of length 2 weapons. So with length 2, you're already going to repel short swords and stuff sometimes. Not much, but a few times. But that's not what's important about this. What's important about this is that it's a magic weapon, and then it does Spirit Strike, which does fatigue damage, armor negating fatigue damage. And these guys will just punt. Like, you cannot thug against these guys. It is so hard to thug against them. They're really strong. They're size 3, so they fit 2 per square. If you do larger, you get a little bit of the repel buff, but you can't pack them as densely. But later in the game, when you have Skelly spam streaming in behind these guys, if these guys are size 4, the extra 2 empty kind of spots in that square, you can fit a little skeleton in there. And then they have War Elephants, so you can do Elephant expansion if you want to. Elephants are cheap and tend to fall off, though. I mean, they're not cheap. They're expensive, and they tend to fall off. So, anyway, that's basically the unit roster. Notable things, again, are Massible Pygmies, Poison Shortbows, Hyena Clan, which have Javelins, which are kind of cool. The Rhino Clan Warrior, which are reasonably solid heavy infantry for the era. The Spider Rider, who has Web. The Lion Warrior, who is very, very strong anti-elite. And the War Elephant. The mages are pretty cool. So they have one of the cooler mages in the game. I hesitate to say best because there's some really good mages, but he's really cool and he's very good. And it's the Buddha. And the Buddha is fire, earth, death. And if we just look at this, what does this mean everyone can do? Every single one of these can do earth power and Horde of Skeletons. Right, so once you get Conjuration 3, Enchantment 5, you can just pump out, like absolutely pump out skeletons. The guys who are the death random, these guys you put a Skull Staff on so that they're death 4. With Earth Power, it's an unending, it is just an unmerciful stream of skeletons. It is so much. So that's something you can do. They're also heretics, and they also can turn into a werewolf. Or to a were-hyena. And this were-hyena, he keeps all the slots, which is cool, and he's stealthy. So these guys are also stealthy raiders. Not only are they stealthy raiders, they're stealthy heretic raiders that cause unrest. So these guys are pretty darn tootin' good. Pretty darn tootin' good. They also have a forge bonus, just to throw that in there. So these are really, really solid mage. The problem is, if you have a lot of them, they're going to crush your own dominion. We have another heretic mage, and that is the Hyena Clan Witch Doctor. And he's a heretic, does not cause unrest, is also a disease healer, which is nice. So that's cool. He's old, which is not great. But old and disease healer, you can heal diseases from old dudes. So we actually have a way to mitigate the main problem of being old. And you don't get randoms on this, right? So, but with an Earth Gem, you can get up to Earth 2. With a Fire Gem, you can get up to Fire 2. And I think that's enough to maybe do Magma Eruption. I'd have to check. So you can potentially be Earth 2, Fire 2, Death 2. You know, and I think that's, we can actually take a look. I can't remember what all spells that's going to unlock. We've got, sorry, I've got my phone ringing. We've got, Magma Eruption we can do, which is kind of cool. That's an evocation. Bane Fire you can't really do unless you have a Skull Staff, but this you probably would do on your other dudes, your Buddhas. Anyway, that's some of the crosspath stuff you can do. So anyway, these guys are also pretty respectable researchers with 13 RP. They're going to kind of bleed you dry on upkeep because they're not sacred or anything, but such is life. We have the Spider Clan Witch Doctor. These guys, not really a fan. I mean, these are not great one-level paths. Death 1 is horrible in general. Nature 1, it's okay on itself. Like, by itself, it's like swarm spam, basically, and casting single tile protection. And Fire 1 is really bad on its own. I think you want to avoid making these guys. That's my opinion. We're going to get to the priests in a second. We have the Spider Clan Sorcerer. These guys are kind of cool, actually. Attica, if you watch his videos, he's got a thing on Machaka, and he's going to go through and tell you what each of the different path combinations, because there's a lot. You can get if we look at this guy, he's fire, death, and nature. And you have a random for fire, earth, which isn't part of the other one, and then death, nature. So you get 2 of these. So if we look at all the permutations, some of these guys will be fire 3, some will be death 3, and some will be nature 3. But a very small percentage. And then some will be a mix. So, you know, fire 3s are good mages for 175. Those are really good. Death 3s would be really, like all the 3s are really good, right? But then you're going to be getting a lot of 2s. And some of these are going to be like earth and then maybe 1, 2. It's not like a death 2 mage is still useful. A nature 2 mage is still useful. I think these are significant. They may be, let's check out, I forget what the, yeah, this guy's going to be your best nature. I was going to say maybe they're good for being a high nature mage. These guys I think can be useful. Like they're not bad, but I feel like they're also not great. That's kind of the boat I'm in. They do have death in nature, so you can potentially look at like twice-born transformation things with these guys if you take luck scales. It's a thing you could try. So anyway, that's the Spider Clan Sorcerer. Kind of versatile, but also kind of expensive. For what you get most of the time, I think on average. But you can definitely get some good rolls. Now we're going to talk about the Voice of the Lion. The Voice of the Lion, it's a Beastmaster, so good leader for your lions if you get those. And for your elephants. I don't think I would want to pay. I mean, I don't know. Animals fall off so hard. Maybe there's a time and a place for lions and elephants. If they are, this is a good commander to lead them. Notably, though, and I think most importantly, he's a nature 1 and he's a priest. So, you know, you can have him bless up your units, and he can also cast protection. And swarm. This guy I do like. I think this guy's pretty solid. You're going to be using him probably all the time if you're using your sacreds. We have a bunch of commanders. We have an 80 leadership dude, which is nice, so we can get in formation. A 60 leadership dude. We have this guy, Voice of the Spider, who is a spy. So we can go get over there, and he's a holy spy. So he'll be able to see Dominion score graphs if he gets in somebody's capital, but he's not a mage. So he's not going to be able to see research and gem graphs. If you were really mouth-breathing tryhard, you could empower him in some path like blood, but we're not a blood nation. Okay, and we have the Lion Queen. The Lion Queen is cap only, notable for being Fire 3. Fire 3 is really good. That's really the main reason you get her, is to have a Fire 3. You know, Earth is nice. You can do summon Earth power for an Earth gem. Earth and Nature is a nice cross path. You can, I think with the Thistle Mace, you might be able to do Strength of Gaia and get her all the way up to Nature 4, which would be really cool because you have the Thistle Mace and then you have Strength of Gaia. You might even be able to do it with just the Nature Gem. Let's check. Strength of Gaia. Yeah, you can do it with just the Nature Gem, get up to Nature 3. So that's kind of cool. With the Thistle Mace, get up to Nature 4. So that, I think that those are the two main uses for this Lion Queen, is getting high nature and getting high fire, because with Phoenix Power, she's going to be Fire 4. So you can do all sorts of cool stuff with her. I like. Lion King, this is really the guy you're going to be doing the nature stuff. He's like the Lion Queen, but shifts 1 point from fire to nature, or was it 2? 1. So that's the main difference. I think he's a better Preacher 2. Yeah, she's Holy 1. He's going to be Holy 3. Holy 2. And I think he's also a bit more expensive. She's 320, he's 350. So if you're doing the nature stuff, this is probably your dude. So anyway, that's basically it. Like when we look at Machaka, it's a nation of fire. They have good fire. They have a lot of death. They have some earth, enough earth. One question is like, how do you get earth 2s? I think your Buddhas are a way to do that. I think they're your most reliable way. Or they're already earth 2s. They can get up to earth 3. So yeah, you've actually got really good. You've got earth 3, you've got fire 3, you've got death 3, and you've got nature 3. So you have deep magic in all 4 of these paths, which is nice. You don't have things outside of that, which is a bit of a problem. But, so what are the things this nation can do? We kind of got through the units quickly. What are the things they can do? Well, immense Skelly spam with Buddhas. That's one thing. Stealthy raiding with Skelly spam with Buddhas is oh so nice. You can forge thug gear and thug dudes out. Your Buddhas can thug. They've got pretty good paths for it. These guys can budget thug in a pinch. Yeah, you can mix Buddhas in with these guys, like have one Buddha and have two of these guys, and have like Iron Warriors, this tile that these guys are in, and these guys can thug, and these guys with the gem can do enlarge. Anyway, there's stuff you can do. You could even potentially get like a Nature 2 one of these guys and have them do like regen. You can mix these guys up to get a lot of point buffing on thugs. So that's one thing you can do, is thug. And you can also thug with Skelly Spam streams, and that's actually a much better way to thug, because your thugs end up not getting like surrounded as much. You have a lot of things you can do in that respect. You also have really good anti-elite. So one thing we can do is Skelly Spam. We can do that really well. We have good anti-elite in like the Lion Warriors. We can mass swarms of pygmies, which are not very good at sieging. That's the other thing that's with these guys. In terms of like gold per siege strength, these guys are actually bad, because you're spending 5 gold and you're getting 0.2 siege strength, which is pretty horrible. Whereas if you look at like these guys, you're spending twice as much gold, but you're getting 5 times as much siege strength. So I think, which one do you want to build? I'm not sure. It depends how scared you are of, what you're fighting, and, which type of archer unit you bring. But I think the way I'm thinking about them is that one of the other tools we have is flaming arrows. So I'm thinking if I have sacreds and they have fire resistance, they don't have shields, but if we get them some like maybe a bit more protection, maybe like mundane protection, and we get them fire resistance, and we're shooting flaming arrows, and we've got a stream of skeletons, that's going to be really hard to fight, because the skeletons are going to overwhelm chaff. These guys are going to kill the elites, which will hold the line against skeletons. And the archers are going to just provide immense kind of protective fire and clear out, like just do so much damage every turn. So that's kind of how I'm thinking about the early game, is a lot of archers with these guys doing darkness. I mean, not doing dark. Well, I mean, we will do that, but these guys killing elites. So that's kind of how I think about it. We also have pretty good elemental access with fire and earth, so we can do elementals, fire and earth elementals. We can potentially do fatigue plays because we have death and access to fire, so we could do like death and heat from hell, or rigor mortis and heat from hell. There's a lot of things we could do. The other thing is we have built-in magic weapons, so we don't have to worry about getting that. And we'll get, now I think we're going to go talk about like god design. This is going to be a little bit of a meme, because we're doing this on, this is a blitz, so I'm going to take something aggressive. Expansion with Machaka is not trivial, right? You can do elephant expansion, it can be fine. You can do scales expansion with Machaka. It is a little tricky. There's good and bad things about doing a full scales build with Machaka. One thing is a lot of the mages, which you're going to want to get, like your Buddhas and your Lion Clan or your Hyena Clan Witch Doctors, they're heretics, so they're going to get rid of your Dominion. On one hand, that can be good if you have them in enemy territory. They can prevent their Dominion from coming in, so you get to keep your nice scales. But it can also kind of keep your scales out. In general, I think it's fine. I think it's totally fine to do a scales build. The other thing that's really interesting that you can do with Machaka, because it's got just so many heretics, is you can have a wall of heretics protecting like a few provinces that have your Dominion in it, and just have those provinces have no Dominion. And if you're really clever, you can let enemy candles creep in, because you maybe move all the heretics out, let their Dominion fill up your land if they have good scales. And once they have the good scales in your land, you move your heretics back in, and it will get rid of the candles. And so long as your candles don't creep back in there ever, you will keep their scales in your land. And normally, enemy scales in your land don't provide you benefits. They don't provide you benefits. You'll get some of the malices, but in general, you get very few of the benefits. You'll get some of them. So, why would you ever want enemy candles in your land if it doesn't help you? Well, when you go to neutral scales, if you completely kill all enemy candles, you do get the benefits. So let's say one of your neighbors is scales and their dominion creeps in your land, and you let it, put all of its scales in your land, and then you have your heretics push their dominion out. Well, you're now like a scales nation, right? Or you conquer a scales nation, right? Normally you'd build temples, spread your dominion in. With Machaka, you can just move your heretics in, and they're going to get rid of the dominion while they're busy researching or doing something else, or site searching, or just running around. So you have the ability with this nation to play scales, if your neighbors are scales, without actually taking them. And what that means is you can dumpster your scales. Which is, I think, what I'm going to do. I still have an hour until the game starts, and it's a blitz, so I have some time to mull and change my mind. But I think what I'm going to do is to take a kind of Hellbless, but I'm going to be, and I might whiffle waffle around. There's some problems I have with this build. One of the problems is this guy, first of all, he's a badass because he's inanimate. He's mindless, so he can't be Soul Slate or anything. He can't be magic dueled. There's a lot of nice things, but the bad thing about it is because he's inanimate, he can't heal afflictions. So I'm worried about he's going to get cursed and afflicted and then be no good to me. And it is so hard to get rid of afflictions, guys. Like, Gift of Nature's Bounty is one, Gift of Health is one way, and we are going to be running up enchantment, which is where that spell sits. But we don't have a ton of ways to deal with it. Anyway. He also is an innate caster, which is kind of badass. It means you can do some kind of crazy things with this. The only problem really is the affliction. It's super expensive, right? It's ridiculously expensive. I dumpstered all my scales for even, this is not a nation you normally want to get like a Helpless on. A lot of these things have like specific thoughts though. The shock resistance is just good for late game, especially on a nation with earth access, right? The fire resistance is specifically for having our sacreds mixed in there, taking fire from flaming arrows. Defense skill, just because it's actually, I was thinking about getting fire shock resistance, getting higher earth. There's nice things with it, which is my pretender is going to have just ridiculous protection if I take 9 earth, right? That's really cool. Problem with it is I lose these path access, and like these are things which I really would like path access to, which like fire and not fire, air and water I just have no access to. And this is going to give me good access, or pretty good. So anyway, you could, if you wanted to, just do fire shock resistance, skip defense, and go higher earth. And this will make you a better expander. It gets your natural protection. It'd be like +9 here. So, it's actually crazy, right? It's going to get you up. Your natural protection with this is going to jump up to like 24. So it's better than Iron Skin. You wouldn't even cast Iron Skin, really. You could. Okay, and then larger is just nice for, it's going to give you a bit of movement, it's going to give you a bit of HP, going to make you hit harder. And we're not going to have so many sacreds that we really are going to care about the fact that we can't have 2 per tile, I don't think. We just aren't going to have enough. So I think it's fine here. And we get a longer weapon, which is not the reason to do it. The reason to do it is just the HP and the strength, and then the map move. And then Spirit Sight. Spirit Sight, we're playing on a Death Nation. We can potentially we can't do Solar Eclipse. We don't have Astral. Our God can. So that's a thing. But, once we get Darkness, Alt 6 is going to be huge for our nation. Once we hit Alt 6, means this guy can Soul Vortex. It also means we can cast Darkness. And then you have to fight Skelly Spam plus my dudes in Darkness. That's going to be scary. These Lion Warriors are going to be scary, scary, scary in Darkness. And then we have Magic Resistance. Why not? We need to be Astral 4 to Magic Phase. We could skip Astral. No, we need Astral for Spirit Sight. We could take a bit more Nature, get low Light Vision, skip Spirit Sight. But I don't know. I feel like this is probably... And we don't have Astral access on our nation. And we're safe taking it on our God because we're mindless. Stygian Flesh. Optional. You can go lower in Death. Nice thing is, Death 6 is very high. And they like casting off script, Death off script, like Horde of Skeletons and stuff. Drain Life, maybe. So when he goes off script, he is an innate caster. And so even when he's fighting in melee, he's going to be casting spells. So he may be spamming out like Drain Life, who knows, other stuff. He's going to be just wrecking shit. And this guy is going to be so strong. The only thing I'm worried about, again, is afflictions, which I can deal with some of that. Like, we can put Wound Fiend amulets on him. We can't give him regen. We can have him do Liquid Body, which is going to help with afflictions. So we can do some things, but ultimately he's probably going to get afflicted to hell if we use him as a super combatant. But my plan is not really to use him as a super combatant. It's to use him as a super combatant caster, which means he's going to be able to do like Foul Vapors on armies. So if I get decent research, which, look, we're taking Drain 3 and we have no money. But we can, if we manage our scales, which I've never done this before. I don't know how successful we'll be. But if we can manage our scales so that in our major population centers, we can get enemy dominion and then push it out, that's good enemy dominion, we might be in a decent spot. So I don't know if we'll take this or something different. You can do, I think this is a nation you want to think about an expander, though. Expansion's a little tricky. I think that, okay, the main things I think you want to think about are, I'm going to save this guy real quick. Awesome. All right. Let me turn off this mod, bring a real god. So the things that I think we want to think about with Machaka when you're picking a god is you want to think about path access. You want to get, like, I think you need astral access. And then you probably want air. Those are pretty important to get. Maybe you want blood. I don't really believe it as much anymore in taking blood on your pretender god to break into blood. I think that's a bit of a trap. But I think having astral and air access would be really important. Having some nature or water, that's one thing to think about. So you could do like a super budget rainbow imprisoned or dormant, with pretty good scales. You could also maybe do like a budget expander that gave you air or water or something. Like Wadjet can expand. You could maybe do something interesting with him. That's not super interesting. These guys kind of suck. Water again we could get here. Phoenix Dominion Immortality is kind of cool. He doesn't really have much HP. I'm not really sure how you would use him to expand where he doesn't just pop and die. But, you can have him come online and then be a cool god at some point. Or like this guy, he's probably a little better at expanding with awe and a significantly larger HP pool. Does not have Dominion Immortality. So I don't know. You could pick one of these guys. You also can potentially expand with one of these guys if you bank up gems and build, like, you research for a few turns to get something, and then he can jump in like maybe turn 4 or 5 and start expanding. Like you're a nation that wants to go enchantment anyway, so getting any of the titans with nature, you could probably drop regen once you have like one of the good decent armors that are available construction 0. And just throw those on, and then they could kind of expand. The Great Mother can also expand, but these are paths you already have. So I don't know. I think, and you also don't have Magic Phase. So having Magic Phase as an option for the nation, I think is pretty powerful. But like, maybe getting somebody like this, he would have trouble expanding. But just having like a dormant Titan, I think is maybe okay. Giving you access to 2 paths you don't have. Can also Magic Phase. Those are all options. I do like this dude though. He's pretty badass. The one thing I'm not sure about, and I'll have to figure out, is there a way around, like, how would I heal afflictions on him? I think the only way might be Gift of Health. And he's going to be an extremely important part of our strategy. I mean, we're going to have other things, but I feel like, especially in the early and mid game, the other things aren't really going to be online. Like, we're going to be poor until we can get our Dominion management set up, which I don't even know if I can do. And yeah, it's going to be, I think, tricky until we get all of that working. And we're going to be crutching on this dude a lot. If he gets a bad affliction, ooh, we're going to be in trouble. And he may even be able to get diseased. I think he can get diseased. Like, if he gets diseased or something, we're going to be so sad. We're going to be so sad. We need to try to look at scales when we're expanding and make sure we don't walk him into a well of misery. Because I don't want him getting diseased. So anyway, those are all things to think about. But yeah, I think it's a really cool nation. I think it has a high skill cap. And we're going to meme a bit. I don't think this is ideal, but I think it's actually okay. Just because we can control we can kind of heretic out all of our bad scales. I'm hoping. I don't know if we can do it, but I think we can try. So tune in next episode. We will be back with initial expansion.